So this is part 8. Grab a piece of paper and let's go. Hello and welcome to MK's Medical Review Series. My name is Dr. Moses Kazevu. This is a series on my YouTube channel where we look at medical topics in depth. Today we're going to look at emergency contraception, which is the second last video in this video series on our channel on Contraceptive Week. If you haven't yet subscribed to the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the bell notification icon so you never miss on such amazing content every time I post. So remember, we have covered the contraceptive basics, the oral contraceptives, transdermal and vaginal rings, the injectable contraceptives, implants, intrauterine systems or devices, barrier, pericoital contraceptives, fertility awareness methods, and in this video, we will look at emergency contraception. So remember from our basics, contraception is the intentional prevention of conception through various devices, sexual practices, chemicals, drugs, or surgical procedures. The classification includes hormonal-based contraceptives, which we discussed in details, non-hormonal-based methods, which we also discussed in details, and surgical methods, which we are yet to discuss. When it comes to emergency contraception, remember that this is going to be used to prevent pregnancy for a short period of time after unprotected sexual intercourse. Remember that women that are actually repeatedly using emergency contraception should actually look for much more effective methods of contraception, because you can't keep using emergency contraception all the time. Then commonly used emergency contraceptive methods are going to include the hormonal emergency contraception, which may be in the form of levonorgestrel 1.5 milligrams orally once, which can be taken within 120 hours of unprotected sexual intercourse. That's within 5 days, and it is more effective when it's taken within 72 hours. There is no real contraindication to this use. You may also, the precise mechanism of action is not really known, but it's thought to actually disrupt ovulation or corpus luteal function, depending on the time in the cycle when it has been taken. But note to yourself is that if ovulation has already taken place and this person has sexual intercourse and they take these oral contraceptives, the plan B, there's a higher chance that it may not work. Sometimes you may still fall pregnant. Then you may also have the ulipristal 30 milligrams, which can be taken once within 120 hours of unprotected sexual intercourse. Remember, this is only available on prescription basis, and you may also have the non-hormonal base, which is the intrauterine emergency contraception, where you can actually insert the copper device, the intrauterine copper T device, within 5 days of unprotected sexual intercourse. And remember, this is going to be preventing the implantation, and the copper ions are going to be exerting an embryotoxic effect. Then the copper IUCD can actually remain in situ for ongoing contraception, or it can be removed once the menstrual period actually has started. You may sometimes also insert the 52 milligrams the levonorgestrel releasing IUD, which is like the copper IUD, also probably requires insertion within 5 days of unprotected sexual intercourse. With emergency contraception, the quicker you actually get it after the sexual intercourse, the lesser the risk of you actually falling pregnant. But also that depends on the time when you actually had sexual intercourse during your cycle. Remember, for women who have regular menses, the risk of pregnancy after a single act of intercourse is approximately 5%, and this risk is 20 to 30% if intercourse occurs at mid-cycle. Then we'll begin to talk about the intrauterine device, which we already talked about in the previous lectures. Remember, when an intrauterine copper contraceptive or a 52 milligrams of levonorgestrel releasing intrauterine device is used as emergency contraception, it must be inserted within 5 days of unprotected intercourse, or within 5 days of suspected ovulation if the timing of ovulation can be estimated. The pregnancy rate is about 0.1%. Remember, these are the most effective type of emergency contraception. And with the copper IUCD, it's 0.1%. With the levonorgestrel releasing one, it's 0.3%. Also, the IUCD can be left in place and can be used for long-term contraception. As the emergency contraception, the copper IUCD may actually also even affect the blastocyst implantation. However, it does not disrupt with an already established pregnancy. The resumption of menses plus a negative pregnancy test is reliable to actually exclude pregnancy, and a pregnancy test must ideally be done 2 to 3 weeks after insertion to be sure that an unintended pregnancy has not occurred before insertion. Then in terms of the oral levonorgestrel, these are going to be a single dose of 1.5 milligrams. And they're going to be used as emergency contraception that prevents pregnancy by inhibiting or delaying ovulation. Like I said, if ovulation has already happened, there's a high chance you will fall pregnant even if you take these drugs. Then the probability of pregnancy is reduced by 85% after oral levonorgestrel emergency contraception, which has a pregnancy rate of 2 to 3%. However, the overall risk is reduced depending on the following things. For example, if the woman's risk of pregnancy without emergency contraception, the time in the menstrual cycle where the emergency contraception is given, the woman's body mass index. Remember that those that have levonorgestrel emergency contraception and is going to be less effective than ulipristal in women that have a BMI greater than 30 kg per square meter. Then remember that oral levonorgestrel emergency contraception is available behind pharmacy counters without a prescription, and a hormonal contraception may be started at the same time as you use the oral levonorgestrel as a part of a quick start protocol. A backup contraceptive method such as a condom must be continuously used in the next 7 days. So even if you have taken emergency oral contraceptives and you had sexual intercourse after taking it, there's a risk of you getting pregnant. Then in terms of ulipristal, this is going to be consisting of 30 milligrams of a progestin receptor modulator, and this can be used as an emergency contraception that has a pregnancy rate of about 1.5%. And it is actually much more effective than the oral levonorgestrel. Just like the levonorgestrel is going to prevent pregnancy primarily by delaying or inhibiting ovulation. Although the ulipristal is more effective than levonorgestrel in women that have a BMI above 30, its effectiveness also decreases as a woman's BMI increases. So with the obese women, these emergency contraceptive pills are going to be much, much less effective. And remember that in women that are obese, those that are strongly desiring to avoid unintended pregnancy, then they must opt to get a copper IUD as an emergency form of contraception. Remember that it's only available under prescription basis, and the hormonal birth control should not be started until 6 days after use of ulipristal, since the progestins may actually interfere with the efficacy of the emergency contraceptive. Remember that if the hormonal contraception is started on the day 6 after giving this ulipristal, then a backup contraceptive methods must be used for 7 days. There is no absolute contraindication to levonorgestrel or ulipristal emergency contraception. And remember that oral levonorgestrel and ulipristal emergency contraception should be used as soon as possible within 120 hours of unprotected sexual intercourse. The quicker you do it, the better the chances. So within 72 hours, you have a greater chance of preventing pregnancy. Then the last method is the UPC method, and this is another type of regimen that is being offered. It consists of 2 tablets, each consisting of ethinyl estradiol 50 micrograms and levonorgestrel 0.25 milligrams. And this is going to be followed by 2 tablets that are going to be taken 12 hours later, but within 72 hours of unprotected sexual intercourse. Remember that the high dose of estrogen often is going to be causing nausea and may also cause vomiting, and a hormonal contraceptive may be started at the same time as the use of the UPC method, and this is part of the quick start protocol. A backup method should be used and is recommended, such as a condom, for the next 7 days. And remember that the UPC method is less effective than the other types of the emergency contraception, and so it is no longer recommended except for women that do not have access to the other methods of emergency contraception. A urine pregnancy test, just like the other types of emergency contraception, must be done 2 weeks after the use of the emergency contraception. I really hope you enjoyed this video on emergency contraception. If you did, consider subscribing to this channel, hit the bell notification icon so you never miss on such amazing content every time I post. To Zambia and beyond, my name is Dr. Moses Kazevu. Until next time, bye-bye.